Welcome to the Plan B CRNA podcast. I'm your host, Bobby Jones, and I'm so excited that you're here. The Plan B CRNA podcast is the only show made specifically for nurse anesthetists who are exploring options outside of their traditional career paths. This is the place to expand your mind and your goals as we uncover new ways to produce side income together. Join me for some honest, unscripted discussions with other CRNAs who are transforming their financial lives. This episode is brought to you by On-Call Capital. On-Call Capital is dedicated to educating CRNAs and other healthcare providers about investing outside of the traditional stock market. On-Call Capital also provides opportunities for you, yes, you, to create passive income and generational wealth while also lowering your taxable income through investments in the apartment and alternative investment spaces. If you haven't hit subscribe yet, make sure you do that right now so that you don't miss an episode. Thanks so much for joining me today. And now, on with the show. Welcome to another Provider Spotlight episode of the Plan B CRNA podcast. Our guest today is someone that I've known for several years, but it wasn't until the pandemic that I felt like we really connected. Carolyn Crews graduated from the Wake Forest Anesthesia program in 2015, serving as the student representative on the AANA Health and Wellness Committee and the NCANA Program Committee. While working as a CRNA, she began pursuing a side career in holistic wellness. She opened her own holistic practice in 2018 after studying Ayurveda and becoming a Usui Holy Fire 3 Reiki practitioner. And we'll see if I got that right. She'll correct me here in a minute, I'm sure. Carolyn has since become a certified Karuna Reiki master teacher, certified yoga teacher, and life coach who not only loves working with fellow high achievers on their journey, but thrives in training others how to live their best lives fully again. Carolyn is also a mom of 2 teenagers, an avid traveler, adventurer, adrenaline junkie, who is passionate about serving the world, enjoying life to the fullest, forming deep connections, creating community, and feeling like everybody deserves to live their best life ever. So Carolyn, welcome to the show today.
Thank you so much, Bobby. That was an incredible introduction. So thank you so much for that.
Well, I want to make sure here, first off, because a lot of these terms are things that, a lot of people have never heard before.
Sure.
So I want to be able to get into some of that, but let's start off at the very beginning. When did you first feel some of these ideas of holistic wellness tugging at you?
Wellness has been a huge part of my life for as long as I can remember. And my dad was a very active person. He always maintained his health and wellness. And I grew up as an athlete. Fitness, nutrition were always a big part of my lifestyle. And so, however, I was dealing with multiple chronic health issues for most of my life. From early childhood, I was diagnosed with juvenile arthritis, went into multiple GI issues, depression, anxiety, multiple chronic inflammation issues, and chronic pain for many years as well. I couldn't walk for 9 months as a teenager because of a chronic pain issue. So through that journey, I have always tried to maintain my own health and wellness, but the Western medicine system was not working for me as a patient. Nobody could really pinpoint exactly what was going on with me, the reasons why, and how to treat them. So I had to go off on my own journey and find what would work for me. And first, that came down to what I was putting in my body, my foods. When I was in anesthesia school, I did the whole 30 reset, which many people are familiar with, and basically took all the inflammatory stuff out of my diet. And within those 30 days, I was blown away by how all of my chronic things that I had been dealing with and was still currently dealing with literally just completely disappeared. My pain was gone. My depression, my anxiety felt so much better. I felt clear-headed, had energy back. And so that was kind of the start of it. And then also during anesthesia school, I was really nervous about falling into old habits because of the high levels of stress. and also in maintaining a family during that time. So I actually read an article one night as I was going to bed on the benefits of meditation. And I was reading that and I'm like, oh my God, I need every single one of these right now. Like all of
Yeah.
these benefits that have been proven. This article was from Harvard, a Harvard study. And I was like, I need every single one of these right now. And so from that night on, I began meditating. Like instead of scrolling through my phone aimlessly as I was trying to go to bed, I decided to throw on YouTube, find a 20-minute meditation, and just sit and listen to that. I had no idea what I was doing. That's just how I started. And within a couple weeks, I noticed a huge shift in my stress levels. And this was mid anesthesia school. I remember one morning I was driving into conference. I was presenting that day at conference. I had a really, really difficult case that day. And, a difficult CRNA. I mean, I love all my CRNAs, but it was a difficult CRNA
You
I
don't
was
have
with
to
that
sugarcoat
day.
it. You don't have to
You know?
sugarcoat it here.
Yeah.
You're on the other side of
And
that now.
I'm totally done. I mean, we're all just doing our best. And I had an exam the next day. So, driving into the hospital that morning, normally my stress would have been just like unreal. I would have been freaking out. And I'm driving in and I realized, like, I feel amazing right now. Like, I don't have a care in the world. Like, I'm not really thinking about anything. I'm not really worrying. I feel great. I'm like, man, this meditation stuff must really be working. And also started getting into yoga. Just threw on some YouTube and I was like, I've never felt this in my body before. What the heck is happening? And so that, as I was going through my own personal discovery and finding these things that began working for me, everything started changing in my life and my health, my just the balance in maintaining life in a high stress career and balancing being a mother and all that life brings. I really started to return to myself again and feel joy in my life again and feel like I was back to my prior self.
That's
um,
so cool. I'm gonna back it up just a minute
Go
because
for it.
I personally need a little help, and sometimes these episodes can turn into self-help sessions for me anyway. But so you mentioned doing yoga while you were in anesthesia school. Now this was several years ago. How old were your children then?
They were in elementary school. My
Okay.
daughter started kindergarten. My son was in second grade when I went into anesthesia school.
Perfect. So the reason I asked that is because I have three children, and they're round about those same ages.
Yeah.
What was your plan for getting your yoga time in? You say you pulled up YouTube videos. Where did you do that in your house? How did you keep your kids out of your business during that time?
Such an amazing question. Yeah. And that was why I loved it so much because I had my office. Fortunately, my kids shared a room. We were in this little teeny tiny house, and I had my office designated for studying. And I would bring my yoga mat into my office, close the door. My parents, my children kind of knew, like, when I was in there, that was mom time, not to disturb me while I was in there. And so I would just go in there, close the door, roll my mat down, throw a video on, and yeah, and just go from there. And that was my time. And scheduling in that time for myself, whether it was 20 minutes, an hour, 5 minutes, even just 5 minutes getting to the hospital before I got out of my car, I would throw on a meditation and just listen to that in my car seat before I walked into the hospital in the morning. Little
Very
things like
cool.
that.
Yeah.
Good
Cool.
question.
Yeah. Well, so now let's get into some of this nitty gritty about what it is that you actually are doing. How you found yourself wanting to pursue this alternative holistic wellness. How did that start for you, and how did it kind of snowball into where you are now?
Yeah. So a few years after I graduated from anesthesia school. So a few years after I'd started practicing and things had kind of calmed down a little bit. Side note, I also went through a divorce right immediately after anesthesia school. So I went through a huge personal crash course of those 2 years of school, the stress overload, plus a divorce after 10 years of marriage. On top of that, I was just not coping well at that point. It's really not, I had no motivation to do anything. I was drinking a lot. I realized that I would come home from work and need to unwind, and found myself drinking way more than I felt comfortable drinking, especially just being home with my kids. I'm like, what am I doing? Um, so eventually after a year or two, I regained myself back and took a trip to Bali. It was actually a dream trip of mine. I was over there for a couple weeks, and I had a session there with an energy healer, and I had zero idea what that was. No idea. But I was like, when in Bali, might as well do all the things. So I was open
Absolutely.
to it. And I just laid down. She, did her whatever on me for like an hour. Felt great afterwards, nice and relaxed, like a massage. But when I woke up the next morning, I have never felt as incredible as I did that next morning. I literally felt like I was my childhood self again, like the Carolyn at her core, like before all the life and stress and craziness and adulthood and traumas and all the different stuff that we pick up along the way. I felt like I was back at her. And it was in that moment that I was like, I, I felt like myself again. So I felt the energy to want to start doing something more. And I've always had this drive to help others. That's why I went into medicine. That's why I, have gone the path that I've gone, because I've always had this huge, deep passion for helping others. And I had this aha moment of, I really want to help others in a different way, in a way that's helped me, that in ways that I 1,000% believe in and trust, and get to kind of the core and the root cause of our issues, and really help others in the ways that I needed help when I needed it. And so that's when I really deep dove into these practices, learned a ton, and began my own business and doing that as well. So yeah, I just kind of jumped right in. Like I followed my heart and really intuitively knew that this was what I was here to do, and to share this and to help others in this way. And so I just jumped all in, and it's completely blown my mind how incredible that's gone, not just for those that I've worked on and worked with, but financially, economically. I mean, when we are in alignment with who we are at our core and what we're here to do, the universe just completely shows up for that. And it's unreal. It's amazing. So
Yeah.
did that
So
answer your question?
yeah,
I
so
know that was a
then
long
my
story.
next no, but my next question though, these are great stories. I love these kinds of stories because they get to the core of why you're pursuing what it is you're pursuing. So I love these kinds of stories. And so my next question though gets into the practice itself. What is Reiki? How is it different from other forms of healing? Like acupuncture or whatever else is out there. Tell me what Reiki is.
Exactly. So Reiki is a form of energy healing. It's in that spectrum, that umbrella of energy healing. It originated in Japan and works in a very similar way as acupuncture does. Acupuncture uses the needles and works on the meridians and the lines of chi, and the energy flows throughout our body. Reiki works in the same way, just non-invasively. And it works on all levels, on the physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual levels. We are energy. I mean, it's basic physics. Everything around us is made up of energy. And, we do a really good job taking care of our physical body. Well, we try to take care of our physical bodies
Yeah.
and our emotional and mental health. But we neglect our energetic self. And, I come from a very scientific mindset, right? Like, I need to know and understand the how, the why, the what is happening here. Why is this working? Let me see the research behind this. And I'm also one who needs to experience it myself to really understand. And I feel like that's been one of the hardest parts for many people, is like, I can't see anything, so I don't really understand it because I can't see it. It's kind of like radio signals for me, or Wi-Fi. Like, I don't understand how or why it works, but I know it does. I just can't see it. It's just something's happening there. um, but yeah, so I've, worked on over 100 clients in the past couple years, and now trained many as well to be able to have it for themselves. It's something that absolutely anybody can learn, even children. And we have access to it anytime. So once you learn, you have to learn through a Reiki master. And once you have that forever. And you're literally just acting as a channel for this energy that's around us all the time. And I mean, I've used it, I use it on myself every day, but have seen it help on every issue imaginable. I use it for my own, like if headaches come up or cramps, or I had food poisoning one night and used it on my stomach. And within 20 minutes, symptoms were gone. I haven't needed to take anything for pain medicine or anything for the past couple of years since I've been practicing it. And along with that too, it works on deeper levels. So, what was leading me to my unhealthy habits in the past, like my binge eating and drinking, and these chronic habits that we develop because there's something within us that is either doesn't feel whole or needs to be healed. That heals through this practice, and then those things just no longer are a part of our lives, and it gives us ultimate sense of freedom. So,
Man, that's so cool. Just,
it's
I mean,
crazy. It blows my mind.
Yeah, well, and that's, I mean, I'm very much a science person too, and personally, I have not experienced Reiki. We live in the same town. I might be calling you up after this, for a session, but it's something that is just, it's amazing. That there's got to be something to some of these other types of medicine that are out there, aside from the standard Western medicine. There's no way that it's been going on for as long as it has without having some validity to it. And I know that the science is just now really starting to catch up to some of those kinds of things. So my next question is, have you been able to incorporate some of this style of medicine and healing into your own anesthesia practice?
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's been a game changer for me, especially in anesthesia, because we are there, we have the patient there with us the whole time. And, Reiki does not cause any harm. It just can't. And it only works for the highest good. So, and the person needs to be open to receiving it. So, if I feel open to, I will have a discussion with a patient before we go back to the OR. Just tell them, that I'm also a meditation and yoga teacher, that I practice Reiki. And if they, are open to any of these modalities included in their care under me, I'm happy to assist with that. But even without that, I mean, I've used it I had a difficult IV placement one day and, tried multiple times, could not get this IV. And then finally I'm like, why don't I just try Reiki on this here? And so I literally like did some Reiki over her arm for a minute or so beforehand and, put the IV in, and she did not feel anything at all. And it went right in. And there's just multiple forms of using this. But yes, I mean, I feel there's such an amazing place for Western medicine and what we do and how we practice. There's an amazing art. Uh, However, there's no reason why these things can't intertwine and work together. It just allows for much more greater effects in the long run. There's actually been scientific studies that have shown that there's many scientific studies on Reiki in conjunction with Western medicine, but one of them is increased recovery times post-op, shorter stays in the PACU, less use of pain medicines post-op, less nausea and vomiting, at like high levels, like 80 to 90% less of all of these things post-op and in recovery. So it's highly beneficial. I'm glad that it's becoming more and more incorporated in the hospital setting, and that more science and research is coming out, because it is a real thing. So
Yeah.
it's really
Very
cool.
cool. Very cool. So, and I know that you have taken steps here in the last year to actually walk away from your anesthesia career and embrace your business full time, your side business full time. How has that transition been for you?
Absolutely. Yeah, it has been crazy. I mean,
I love that response.
that's my honest response. I mean, it's both sides of the spectrum. There was absolutely a lot of fear in doing that. When the pandemic hit and when everything locked down, my family and I were actually in this process of transitioning to creating a different lifestyle for ourselves anyways, that just allowed more freedom and flexibility to be able to do the things that we love, the things that we enjoy, to travel more. And so we were in that process of simplifying when the world completely shut down. And at that point, I was practicing anesthesia independently. So as the elective cases all closed down, so did all of my work. And I had actually kind of intuitively thought that I needed to step away from this practice. But my ego and my mind was like, absolutely, like, what are you thinking? You absolutely can't do that. Like, you're supporting your family with this. You've worked your entire career doing this. You've been in healthcare for 15 years. Like, you've got, and I love my job. I absolutely love my job. However, in this time of lockdown, my family really needed me. Their dad was deployed at the time, and so I was here by myself. And they're two teenagers, and we had no other family in the area. And I knew that I needed to be home for them during that time. And however, it also allowed me to witness the life that I had already been envisioning for myself and been wanting, but wasn't able to fully live out because of my schedule at the hospital. The early hours, the long days, the coming home and being stressed and needing to transition, and then with the kids too, doing that all on my own was too much. So there were a lot of personal reasons in doing that as well. But going back to the business side, that allowed me to really realize where my passion is. And my passion is in helping other individuals and women and mothers like me who really are looking to cultivate more balance in their life, and needing that, because I've seen how my health was deteriorating because of the lifestyle I was trying to keep up with and live in many years in a high stress environment and trying to keep it all together. And, we give to everybody else. And, many of us are those high achievers and we're just naturally caregivers, but so few of the time do we give the same care and attention to ourselves and actually invest the time and the money and the love for ourselves like we do for everybody else.
Yeah. I love that you mentioned that that's an investment that you have to make, whether it's time, money, energy. It is really an investment in yourself to try and find some more of that balance. And I know it's really cliche when people are like, oh, well, you got to take time out. It's, you got to take time for yourself, and you got to, treat yourself a little bit, or you got to, go get yourself a massage, or go do this and go do that. And even those kinds of things can take effort,
Yeah.
and they can cause anxiety. When you set up an appointment to go, do yoga, and it's like, oh, but first I've got to get dinner made for the kids, and I've got to do this and I've got to do that. And then, like, so things just line up because we lead such hectic lifestyles. So,
Right.
um, but when we look at it as an investment, it's something that, you really want to cultivate first off, and you want this to be something that is longer lasting than just a single time, or, hey, I'm going to go on this diet and it's going to last for a couple of months and then I'm going to go right back to what I was doing.
Totally.
um I think you mentioned that all of this happened during the pandemic, and I think this has caused a lot of folks to kind of reevaluate what their lives look like. And man, it just sounds like you've done a lot of soul searching with that. So, kudos to you for being able to find that, being able to feel comfortable enough to walk away from something that you love, but finding that lifestyle that's better suited to your family's needs right now. That
Yeah.
takes a lot of courage.
I mean, you made a good point in, we tell ourselves like, oh, I need to take a break. Oh, I need some self-care. And so many of us, including myself, were like, this vacation and then I'll feel better. Or, oh,
Mhm.
I deserve to go out tonight and to have a few drinks because I've worked really hard this week, or it was a crazy day. Or, yeah, I'll get a massage this weekend and that'll feel great. But that's just like an hour or a couple hours or
Mhm.
a week away. And then you come back and everything is the same again. And you're
Yeah.
still dealing with the same stuff and the same issues and the same things. And so that's what I'm really passionate about working with people on, is getting to the root of that and really like cleaning that slate for good, so that that doesn't continue. We're not just like running on this hamster wheel of
Mhm.
craziness in society in our life. It's not supposed to be that way. And
Yeah. I
not
agree. I'm all about designing a lifestyle that you don't feel like you need to run away from.
totally
You don't need a vacation from your life.
right.
That's life is meant to be lived, and it's meant to be lived well. So well, transitioning kind of towards the end, I know we're running out of time here, so just a couple more things. What advice do you have for folks that are wanting to maybe get started in learning more about this type of holistic wellness?
Yeah, I mean, anybody is always welcome to reach out to me anytime. Obviously, I mean, that's why we're here.
Yeah.
But please feel free to reach out. You can contact me anytime. I'm happy to either just chat about it or talk or just hear your questions or whatever. You can also find me on Instagram, and I have a website as well. My one-on-one high-end coaching is not on my website because it's pretty exclusive. So if you are interested in that, I'm happy to explain more about that if you reach out. But my advice is to just be curious. Be curious of the different modalities that are out there, different things. If it wasn't for my curiosity and knowing and feeling like there was something more, that it didn't have to be like this, that I didn't have to feel this way, that, it's the curiosity, and there are added things that can be added into our practices with our patients and our families and our kids. Just be curious and stay curious, and follow your heart and your intuition on where it guides you. We're not going to sit down and read something or watch listen to podcasts or watch YouTube videos on something that's not exciting to us. So follow what you're excited about, and because that's unique to you. Every single one of us is completely unique and different and has something amazing to share with the world. And so follow that intuition and where your heart guides you, and just stay curious and stay open. And yeah, that'll lead you exactly where you want to go.
Very cool. Very cool. I love it. So I do want to give you a chance to tell listeners exactly how to get a hold of you. You mentioned a website. What is that website?
My website is holisticcrews.com. Crews spelled Crews. And so, yeah, you can find a little bit of stuff on there. And on Instagram, I am Carolyn C. Crews, Crews. So with a C in the middle. And yeah, and so my email is carolyn@holisticcrews.com. So I love connecting and meeting new people and talking about all kinds of amazing things. So anybody, please reach out anytime, just to even just say hey, and I'd love to hear from you.
This has been great. Thank you so much for your time today, Carolyn. I look forward to catching up with you again soon.
Thank you, Bobby, so much. I really appreciate being here. And yeah, you're awesome. I'm so excited for what you're doing. So thank you so much for allowing me to be a part.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. Having known Carolyn for several years now, I must say that I've never seen her so calm and just at peace with her life. The change has been palpable to those around her, which is a big reason why I asked her to be on the show. I had no idea how successful her side business had actually become until she mentioned it today. I just hope you guys got as much out of today's discussion as I did. I really appreciated Carolyn's advice there at the end. Curiosity not only drives so much of the innovation that we see, but it can also push us to simply better understand the world around us and our places in it. Without curiosity, it's hard to imagine growth happening in our lives. That's going to do it for us today. I hope you'll join me next time on the Plan B CRNA podcast. Thank you so much for joining me for another episode of the Plan B CRNA podcast. If you haven't already subscribed and reviewed the show, I'd be honored if you took the extra time. It really helps to expand our reach and get the word out about the show. If you're a CRNA who is interested in sharing your story on our podcast, I'd love to have you. Please email me at bobby@oncallinvestments.com for more information. This episode was brought to you by On-Call Capital. They are dedicated to helping providers like you develop passive income and generational wealth through investments in the apartment and alternative investment spaces. Feel free to check out their website at www.oncallinvestments.com and subscribe to their free educational email series. You can find On-Call Capital on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. You can also check out our YouTube page, where you'll find all of the show episodes along with other educational videos. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you on the next episode.